markets do go up, yes, over the long term, but it's not in a linear fashion. Now, what I'm showing here is this is actually just from the CoreLogic 30-year report that came out in 2022. And this will just show you basically the aggregated capitals for both houses and units. Then it'll also show you regionals for both houses and units as well, pardon me. And basically you can see here, if you really want to pause and zoom in, just all the different things that have happened here. So you'll notice just all the little different traits, but you can see there, if you aggregated that this is already, mind you, aggregated as in combined capitals, but if you did that in line of best fitted, it just look a lot like a line going up. But sure, we have definitely had some periods of I'd say stability and some periods of major growth, particularly, I mean, in the mid 2010s and also just the recent COVID boom as well. And you could probably say the late 90s, early 2000s there too. Mind you, this data as well is quite aggregated to Sydney and Melbourne, and you could probably include Brisbane in there too, because that is basically 80% of Australia that live in those regions and surrounding areas are there too. So just something to consider. Markets don't operate in linear fashion. Look, when we go looking at markets too, just something you want to know is that markets aren't linear, number one, but secondly, when they react, they generally overreact. So when they're going very badly, they'll generally go down a bit and just stabilize up and down for a number of years, and that's just what happens. But when they go up, there's basically an overreaction to the boom. So they go up more than they're probably supposed to, and they probably stabilize for longer than they're supposed to. It's just behavioral finance and behavioral economics kind of at play there. So I'll show you this just in the case of a few cities. So I did go through this previously in a few episodes, but this is just on the left here. You can see Perth did basically nothing between pretty much 92 and about 02. Then it went absolutely ballistic for the 5 years after, then basically stabilized right out to post the COVID era. If you look of when COVID started and where it is today in 2025, you would have a similar reaction kind of there. You might have a year or two left, don't get me wrong, but that's a case of it just overreacting in growth and then overreacting also just in stability there too. And on the right-hand side there, Brisbane is no different. Similarly, nothing to about 2002, then did very well for a little bit of more prolonged period to 2012. Then nothing new about, I'd say, you could probably say 2019, and it's just gone ballistic again since. So it's just, the demand has basically just subsided and people have they've overreacted to it doing poorly, which has kept it down for longer. But the minute it breaks its cycle, what's happened is everyone who has overreacted to doing poorly has then piled straight back in the market. So that's why this happens. Now, this is no different to even somewhere like Hobart. So on the left here, you'll see as well, again, 02 to about probably 2010, pretty good performance, maybe not as good as Brisbane or Perth. And then from about 2017 to about 2022, it's probably, mind you, 2015, really, it's not 2017. Very good performance. And now it's just stabilizing too. That's where Hobart is at. And even for our major cities, you do get them running in cycles too. So you can see Sydney there from about 02 to about 2012 did quite poorly. I'd say then from about 2012 to probably about 2019, it did very well. Now, sure, the COVID boom did bump it up a little bit, and that's probably a dead cat bounce because we had 0.1% interest rates, and that may never happen again, to give everyone an idea. Look, it might, but it's probably unlikely for a fair period of time anyway. But that's what can happen even in Sydney, and that's historically, quite good performing market. So that's another thing we just want to consider here, because it can happen in even your, should I say, longer term good performing markets that have a lower sense of standard deviation there. So it happens in Sydney at the moment. It has happened in Melbourne in the sense of how long it's basically stayed down for as well, since about 2018, 2017.